Joining me now is David Friedman, old friend, former ambassador to Israel, and North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Haven't seen Senator Cramer in quite a while. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. You know, David Friedman, Ambassador Friedman, I was tracking you in some of your earlier comments today and so forth. This is a war on behalf of America. I mean, it's a war to preserve the Israeli state, but it's a war to preserve America. And I guess embellishing a little bit, it's a war to preserve, I don't know, civilization as we know it, or as we would like to know it. The stakes here are culturally, politically very, very high, as well as the security zone. What are you thinking right now at the end of the day, David?
Well, you know, Larry, our isolationist friends don't realize that we're all in range. You know, we're all in range.
Right.
Anywhere in the world,
right, we
are in range. Yeah, it's, what, 15, 20 minutes by hypersonic missile from Iran to the East Coast. You know, this is not Israel versus Iran. This is the free world versus radical Islamic terror. That's what this fight is about. And we have no choice but to win. And Israel, you know, they're taking it on their shoulders. Okay, not a single American soldier or any other soldier from any other country was asked to risk their life on this mission. They flew, you know, 1,200 miles, 800 miles, depending upon where. You know, they refueled in the middle of the air. They relied on their own intel, their own blood and treasure, and they defanged, they declawed, you know, the leading state sponsor of terror that was on the brink of a nuclear weapon. How can anybody not consider that to be an extraordinary accomplishment and a great outcome for the world? And as you point out, for the Middle East, wow, does this open up the Middle East in the, you know, in the relatively short term? You know, you and I both worked on the Abraham Accords. In the very short term, how much does this open up this area for peace and prosperity?
Senator Cramer, there may be heartbreak in the days ahead. I don't know how these battles, you know, Iran throwing missiles at Tel Aviv, I think Israel will ultimately prevail and then some. But I think it's interesting. We were talking earlier in the program, all these Middle East countries, Gulf Coast countries backing, helping Israel today and last night, helping Israel. And the list I had, and maybe Ambassador Friedman has a better list, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Jordan, UAE, even Qatar. Qatar, of course, playing 5 different ways to center. But you know what I'm saying? I don't think there's any, no matter what public comments are being made, and this is a security issue principally, but it also could translate into Abraham Accords, trade, and economic stuff. They want to help Israel. They want to rid themselves of the scourge of the Iranian Ayatollahs and communists and terrorists and militarists. That's the way I see it, Senator Kevin Cramer.
Well, it'd be hard for me to improve on what you've just said, but let me just maybe emphasize a couple of things. Economic and trade relationships is national security, and that's what is so intuitive to Donald Trump. It's part of why he's so patient with, I think, with Ukraine and Russia, because at the end of the day, we're less likely to shoot each other if we're doing business with one another. So I think it's all part of the same package. The one thing, you know, and I tried not to live with too many regrets, but one of the things I regret is we had 4 years of Joe Biden, because we were on such a great trajectory, and that foundation is proving very valuable today with all the countries you've named. And I think it's going to be even better going forward, because to your point, civilization is what was on the line, and I think civilization wins the day.
Yes, sir. For civilization, freedom, liberty. Ambassador David Friedman, I think President Trump played his hand very well. He was unflinching, you know, none of these Biden-esque, snarky, you know, little whacks at Israel while Israel is going through this existential self-defense. And after all, President Trump wanted to negotiate. Right, Witkoff was there. He wanted to negotiate right up until the bitter end, when the International Atomic Energy Agency says they've defaulted, non-compliance, and all of a sudden it could be less than a week left. But I think Mr. Trump gets credit for this, doesn't he?
Oh, I think he played it brilliantly. You know, he said, look, guys, you know, I gave you 60 days to try to come up with some peace or some deal. On the 61st day, that's it. You let the time go. You gave everybody the middle finger. You know, the Israelis attacked, and he says to him, I love what he said to him. He said, look, we've given the Israelis, some incredible equipment, and they know how to use it. And my friend Bibi is crazy. So don't, get to the table fast. And the reality is, Larry, their skies are wide open. This is like, a bank with an open vault, and the cops have all gone fishing. I mean, Israel can fly around there like Turkish Air. They can fly around there. I mean, they have their way with the country. And Trump is saying, guys, don't be idiots. Save your country. Save whatever's left and get to the table. I think he gets an A+ on how he handled this.
And I think, Senator Cramer, it's easy to take pot shots at Benjamin Netanyahu, whom I've known for a long time. You all know him for a long time. Yes. But look at. I mean, he stopped out Syria. He stopped out Hezbollah. Years ago, Israel stopped out Saddam Hussein. Somebody, some point, is going to lay down the arms race against Netanyahu and say, this guy is a Churchillian figure, okay? You may not love him. You don't have to love him. The reality is, if he ends the nuclear threat in the Middle East with Iran, if he brings peace to that region, if he expands the Abraham Accords and so forth that Ambassador Friedman helped to pilot, you got to give Netanyahu credit. I don't care. Democrats, come on. Look what's happening there. Who else would have done what Bibi Netanyahu has been doing? Who else would have done it in that region, or for that matter, any place?
And he did it at great political risk to his own career, which is all the more noble, Larry. So I agree. I think he's heroic. I think he's iconic. I think he's going to be historic. And the other thing I would just add to this is the other thing that's been on display these last few days, while no American blood was shed or even risked, American technology proved brilliant. The F-35s, the F-16s, the F-15s, and anybody that doubts America's greatness, looking at what Israel's been able to do with Iran, with our equipment.
Gentlemen, thank you. Really, thank you. Thank you ever so much. Ambassador David Friedman, Senator Kevin Cramer, two great friends. Really appreciate it. Coming up.